Hello. Welcome to the Scarborough Bluffs. If you don't know me, or you don't know already, I am from Scarborough, which is East Toronto in Canada. That's why you can see a little bit of snow on the ground. It is cold. However, today is beautiful blue skies. The sun is out, so I decided to take advantage and come here. This is one of my favorite spots. Sitting down and looking at water is one of my favorite pastimes. Very meditative, so I thought, let's do it. Let's come out here and enjoy the weather while we can in this winter, because winter tends to be gloomy and gross looking outside. So yeah, I'm taking advantage of the beautiful day, and I'm glad you get to be here and witness it. So today's topic has to do with difficult conversations and forgiveness, because this has come up a lot in the past week, and it's a field that I feel very comfortable in, actually. I've had to have lots of difficult conversations in my life, and I find them to be very, very beneficial. Whether it goes the way that you want or not, what arises from it is clarity. And I think a lot of people miss out on that. A lot of people make assumptions, or they let things bottle up until things blow up and the conversations become very emotionally driven, which doesn't really allow you to see other people's perspectives. But I feel like if more people would come into conversations with an open mind and attempt to see things through the other person's eyes, a lot of people would come to understanding, and a lot of relationships would be saved. But yeah, I learned this really early on. When I was younger and in a dance crew, I was in a situation where two of my roommates, who were also on the dance crew, had been dating, and then they broke up, and then one of them had their new partner move in. So I was telling one of my mentors about how it was an awkward dynamic in the house, and that mentor told me that we needed to have a group conversation, because although the situation is between the two of them, their dynamic affects the group dynamic, and that's where it becomes all of our problem. So I remember being really nervous to do this, but I called a team meeting, and we had an honest and open conversation about it. We just talked about how the dynamic was making us feel in practices, and yeah, each of them were able to express how they felt, and then we all started opening up about other things as well. So it was really nice. It was a really nice meeting to have, and then the two of them went on their own to have a conversation later on that was probably more emotional. And the moral of the story is it helped us a lot, because we were able to get all of our feelings out and kind of understand each other. And when apologies were made, they were genuine. So moving to the present, I've dealt with a couple different versions of difficult conversations. Sometimes you have them and people still don't see eye to eye. Maybe it takes a couple conversations. Or sometimes you have somebody who doesn't want to have a conversation, but they want to release all of their feelings and not allow you to express yours. And I guess I'm here in that regard to kind of give some insight on what you should do if that should happen to you. Or I guess this is more so where forgiveness comes in. So I have a friend group where two friends are not seeing eye to eye. And the way that I see it is the way that they deal with problems and the way that they express themselves is just very different from the other. And that has to do with the family dynamics that they grew up in. We have one that constantly needs to defend herself because that's the type of sibling dynamic that she grew up with. Whereas the other one was more of the caretaker and always had to consider everyone else's feelings without her feelings being considered. So it created a cognitive dissonance when they were each expressing themselves because they were both hurt. Oh wow, there's a lot of people now. They were both hurt, and the other one was like they were triggering each other, but not really willing to listen to how they were contributing to that. And I think it's one of those things where when we come into a conversation and we come with the intent of proving that we're right, or with the intention of defending ourselves and clearing our name, then we kind of forget that the conversation is a two-way street and we have to listen as much as we talk. I feel like this is where a lot of us struggle. I am definitely somebody who struggles with it, struggled with this. Especially when it came to really heavy topics. I used to be the type of person who would look at the scenario from all different angles, and I tried to overanalyze and figure out where the problem started and what could have been done better. But what I'm learning to do now is to come into these conversations with an open mind, because it's like, I could be completely right about how I read a situation, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I worked out in my mind. It matters how the other person saw it and what they went through. And if I'm expressing myself, then my experience is equally as important, and how it made me feel. And not, because what a lot of us do is because we think we know. Second, let the geese fly by. I don't know why in Toronto specifically there are so many geese. Especially when you're in areas that are closer to the water. So many geese. I really hope that was off camera. I'm starting to get cold. But I think what a lot of us do is because we come pre-prepared with how we thought the situation goes and placing blame on the other person rather than to come in with an open mind. Just come in with how you were made to feel, and then hear the other person out for what their perspective was, what was going on through their mind, because a lot of the times they don't intend to make you feel that way. It's just a byproduct of whatever emotion they were feeling at the time. And if more people were to understand this, there'd be a lot less conflict in the world. So that being said, I have another friend who I spoke to who, in a long-standing relationship with one of her friends, her friend just kind of cut her off. She sent a whole explanation as to why, calling this friend toxic and, saying a bunch of things about her. And then said it wasn't up for discussion. And then, I don't know if she blocked her or whatever, but it was very one-sided. And I have always been the type of person that feels as though cutting people off in that way is very immature, because it's you're basically unloading all of your emotions. You're placing blame on the other person without hearing out their side of the situation, and then you're just leaving it and calling it, you know, to say that is saving your mental health, or whatever the kids these days say when they talk about cutting people off, or canceling people. It's very, I find it very immature, because you're basically just hiding from the emotions. It's not necessarily that you think that the other person is going to say or do more things to hurt you intentionally, but it's that you don't want them to invalidate the fact that you've made them a villain in your life. Because without the villain, all you have is you. So when you realize that any conflict isn't really about the other person and is much more about you, I think a lot of people can't deal with that. And it's such an interesting thing, because you want to be like, yeah, I wouldn't have this problem if this person wasn't doing or saying this, but if you tell the person that what they're doing is bothering you, and then they continue to do it, then you have reason to cut them off. But to blindside somebody and to just be like, you are doing all these things and I don't fuck with it anymore, so I don't fuck with you anymore, you're a shitty person, pie. Like, no. What the fuck? It says a lot more about you than it does about the other person. So yeah, if you're on the other side of that, where someone's unloading all that shit on you, something I've also been learning to do is I hear how I talk to other people and the advice that I give to other people, because more than likely it has something to do with something going on in my own life, and there's a bit of that I can take or apply in my own life. So, and also when we talk to people, people are all mirrors, right? So when you are talking to somebody, in a way you are talking to yourself as well. So yeah, when you are feeling judged and feeling like people are judging you type of thing, but you have no confirmation of it, it's because you are judging yourself. And that's what's so unfair about not having that type of conversation, not having a deep conversation with somebody about how things make you feel, is because you are fearful that they are going to debunk everything that you have already worked out in your mind. And so rather than to have the conversation and find out the truth, you want to go with your truth. And sometimes I have an issue with when people talk about their truth, because it's true. You know, everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own experience and their own thoughts that are true to them. But there are certain things that cannot be included in your truth, like labeling somebody's intent. That is not your truth. That is your perception of how they made you feel, but that is not truth. You get what I mean? So, and it's because, like, even in the English language, something I might say can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. We all kind of assume that because we are all speaking the same language and words do have like textbook definitions, but do you know how many of us don't pay attention to that shit? Do you know how many of us speak with slang and think of certain words as different words? And do you know how many words are manipulated to mean something else? It's like, I'm trying to think of a slang right now. Like when people say bet, you know, like they're trying to say, what they're trying to say is like, yeah, let's go, let's do this, I'm down for this. But the word bet is literally to place a bet, a wager. Scales. But oh man, I could get into another video about how loosely we use the English language and how we cast spells and how subconsciously you're fucking yourself when you use certain slang words. But it's all to say, this is something that I've picked up from Jordan Peterson. But how do you know that when you ask me a question that I'm answering the same question that you asked me? That's where interpretation comes in, because we are all born in different environments. We all grow up in different environments. We all have different experiences that shape what certain things mean to us. So a lot of the reason why miscommunication happens is because it's just mistranslation. Thinking about the scenario with my friends, I hope I didn't already say this. I've recorded this video like 4 times, I swear to God. Oh, I didn't. But so the friend that's really defensive, the way that she says things is very, very blunt. She doesn't really think too hard about how mean it might come across. Whereas the other friend is a little more sensitive and takes things to heart. So one might say something and not really mean anything by it, but the other person makes it mean something. But if they were just have a conversation where one friend is like, hey, I don't like how you said this made me feel this, then the other friend could be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. Next time, I will be more mindful about what I say around you, or saying that phrase, or whatever. Because, yeah, it's like, this is the simple thing about boundaries that people don't really know how to do. It's like, I think people think boundaries are these hard, fast rules that you put up against yourself, or how do I explain? I think people find them to be like harsh rules where it's like, if you cross this line, we can be no more type of shit. But really, like, a boundary is as simple as, I don't like it when you say this around me. And it's more simple than you think it is. You know, nobody's gonna know what your triggers are. You can't expect the world to be aware of your triggers for you. You need to be aware of what triggers you. You need to be the one to place boundaries so that other people that love you, love and care about you, don't trigger you. And if they do, that's when you start to take action. Once you've already set the boundary and then they're crossing the boundary all the fucking time, that's when you that's when you go, okay, no, this is enough. I don't think I need you in my life. But it's unfair to place these expectations on somebody to know how something is going to make you feel, when if the roles were in reverse, they probably wouldn't feel the same way as you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, all this to say, if you have conflict with somebody, if someone is pushing your invisible boundaries, make your boundaries solid. Let people know how you are feeling so that they can course correct. And then if they don't, then you can think about things like ending friendships or going low contact, whatever you need to do to feel safe. But I think it's just a lot of us seem to feel like we're mind readers, and I think a lot of us pick up on vibes, but there's a lot of people who really don't. There's a lot of people who are really just in their own mind, in their own world, and that's fair. We all come down here onto earth to experience our own journeys. So it's like you can't fully blame someone for not being more considerate about your journey than they are on theirs. But it's like, if they want you to be a part of their journey, then there are certain things that need to happen, or there's certain boundaries that need to be respected for you to have your presence in their life. Tell me that's not some deep, insightful shit. I like this. I mean, I like recording sitting down, but it's nice to move. It's like, you guys get to see my personality. This is what I do in the club. This is me in the club. Alright. I'm gonna sit down and meditate in front of the water now. I hope you found this insightful. I hope this saves people from having friendship breakups and breakups, because a lot of the times it's in your mind. Don't overanalyze. That's what I used to do. Just no. Don't make assumptions. Find out. Ask questions. It's uncomfortable, but it is much more uncomfortable to let that shit blow up. All right. Take care. Bye. Thanks for listening.